US puppet. US puppet. US puppet. US puppet. US puppet. US puppet.
Hands up, Haiti!
Haiti is not for sale.
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 Palestine to Haiti!
There you are.
All right, music there. Of course, that is a bit discordant protests from the Haitians in the U.S. who are just in front of the Kenyan embassy there. And in the U.S. are protesting this mission to Haiti. Is it mission impossible? And today's publication of the Daily Nation also is navel-gazing on this particular issue inside Haiti Police Mission Command. Already, as we gave you that story, that we have police back who had gone there they advanced him there to just take and scope out the lay of the land. As it stands right now, it is not ready where they can be accommodated. And the news that is coming to hand is this, that we have Deputy Inspector General of Police Noor Gabo, who is being considered to head the Kenyan peacekeeping mission to Haiti. He will be assisted by a commander picked from either all three elites units, that is the Rapid Deployment Unit, Anti-Stock Theft Unit, or General Service Unit as well, who will also lead the Kenyan boots on the ground in the war-torn Caribbean nation. And those are the citizens of Haiti who are protesting. Dr. Mustafa, you wanted to weigh in a bit on that before we also look at the non-NATO ally designation that we've gotten as a country.
Dibal, the issue with Haiti is not as simple as we think it is going to be. It's not a law and order business. It's going to be more than that. And it's very important that we understand where Haiti is coming from. It's coming from, and a very angry people. Angry about what? Angry about imperialism. Imperialism perpetuated by the West for a very long time. This is a country that was deliberately impoverished by the West. And this is the problem that our mission will get into. Kenya has very professional police. I believe those who are going there have been trained well. I know Gabo well, one of the finest. And what then needs to be done is to recalibrate this mission. I think we have a moral responsibility as Africans, first and foremost, to go and help Haiti. This is important for us, rather than leaving it to those who impoverished, traditionally, yes, impoverished and destroyed that particular country. I have been to that part of the world, not Haiti. I've been to El Salvador, and been to those places, the favelas, and those are not places you go with police officers to protect you. You actually go with a bishop. I remember going into those favelas with bishops so that we can have some kind of a discussion with those gangs that, by the way, are mainly the people who are the main recruits are children and young people who understand nothing. And so first and foremost, I think it's very important for the mission that is going there to understand what they're going to do. And it's important that some kind of dialogue is even initiated with the gangs. In fact, I'd like to see Gabo and Barbecue sitting on a table and discussing about law and order as soon as they arrive there. And I think it's possible, Dibal. I think it's possible, so that they can, in fact, Gabo can go and resolve these issues and our police can come back after a week. Maybe it can. If they just don't look at it in terms of a law enforcement, law and order, we really cannot bring business, or rather law and order in Haiti. Now, what you see there, it's either you deploy highly specialized special forces from the army, not the police, or you engage in some kind of dialogue and engagement, find what is the problem. And you'll find that at the end of it all is that these people, including those very angry people that we are seeing here on television that are demonstrating in Washington, D.C., are not angry about Kenya. They are angry about the United States of America. They are angry about the French that left that country desolate. As Farah Ali was talking about, next door is Dominican Republic, well-to-do. There's no difference about in terms of the landscape and the resources that are there in Haiti and Dominican Republic. In fact, Haiti has a lot more resources than Dominican Republic, which is next door. But one has to ask, why is it in such a state? It's because that state was imposed by the imperialists. And that is what needs to be dealt with in Haiti.
Mm-hmm. So has he posted himself as a puppet, as is being put across here by the protesters? Or it is Farah Ali?
Yes. You tend to... You must be talking to somebody in the mountain region.
To shortchange you.
To shortchange. No, I agree. Actually, to be honest with you, I think Gabo should go there.
Yeah, I think so too.
Gabo should also bring a whole team of Haitians here in Kenya and create an environment for them to talk. So that we can get to the bottom, we can get to the cracks, we can get to exactly what is the issue. We can't abandon Haiti. The same way, we are morally bound not to abandon Somalia. But if we're going to have a similar relationship as we have in Somalia, in Haiti, then we'll be just doing it for the imperialists. We'll just be working for the imperialists. We have to, we off the beaten track. We have to have a paradigm shift in the manner we deal with them. We tell them, look, we are your brothers and sisters. We want to help you. Tell us how we can help you. And we're willing to bring the entire African continent on board and take them to an AU meeting. Take the different political divides to come together, to talk in a country like Kenya, to sit in some of those national parks in there and sit for the longest. We look for the resources ourselves. We don't ask the Americans or the West to pay for it. We pay for it ourselves. It's not going to cost much. And then maybe hop into a few African capitals where these people are going to see their roots and get very emotional and get sentimental. And we tell them, look, we want you doing better than, we want you to see you doing better than your neighbors. And they have the potential. They're very hardworking people, by the way, the Haitians, I'm told. Extremely hardworking people. So basically, if you're in Haiti, you think you're in Africa. You get my point? You think you're in Africa, I'm told so. So let's see how we can help them. And I think, look, I was in Canada some times back. And I was told this part of Edmonton used to be a no-go zone. It was a very, very dangerous place. When the Somali immigrants went there, the Canadians dumped the Somali immigrants in that place. They did not have the best of intentions. The place was pacified, completely pacified. Its real estate has gone very high. Businesses are thriving in that place. The value of what you call the real estate has, and there's no crime. Somehow they managed to talk to one another and basically a black neighborhood in Edmonton, and told the fellow blacks, look, we're coming from the other end. We have nowhere else to go. We want to live in here. We'll put our mosques. We'll put our own schools here. We will do business in this place. And we want to teach you the business that we do. It's not only drugs and crime and the rest of it. And a lot has changed in that neighborhood. And that can be done. We can replicate that inside the inner city in the US itself also, and turn those African Americans who were enslaved and are under the conspiracy of still Uncle Sam, and to be able to break loose with those shackles and get rid of drugs from their neighborhoods and go to schools and do very well because we tend to do very well ourselves in here. We might have our pockets of problems, but because of the manner in which we came up, we do very well in schools here. We are exporting manpower right now to including the first world countries. The biggest remittances into Kenya right now are the diaspora. It's bigger than coffee, tea, and God knows tourism put together.
Indeed.
You get my point? So we can, I don't want us to abandon Haiti. But I want us to have a paradigm shift, and maybe we talk, the police guys who are going to be sent, Gabo and the rest of them, we should talk to some of the social scientists we have in here.
And go with negotiators.
And go with negotiators. And invite them here.
I'm willing to accompany Gabo, pay my ticket and go for free and
Absolutely,
as a negotiator.
Absolutely.
To go and speak to Barbecue.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Do you speak French?
No, I don't speak French, but
I think that's where we begin.
they speak English, isn't it?
Even their French, by the way, is speaking French.
Issue as well.
Speaking French.
Let me add a little bit. I still think the mission is a disaster. Having said that, I think there is value in what you are saying. Since the decision has been made to go anyway, make the best of it. And the approach is the issue. Because what you are saying is that you don't go there with your rungus and guns and think you are going to do anything. But the approach is the issue. And it's good Mustafa is saying he's willing to go and have a tea with the barbecue. And then not just barbecue, but actually the approach is the issue. And I know these people have been trained because some of the training they've tried to deal with some of these nuances. In the spirit of inviting police, Haitian police, to Kenya for training, just invite their counterparts, the real source of the problem. And if those people are invited, they might feel good and will be willing to do what? That spirit we are talking about of extending the hand of brotherhood. So we're trying to see whether we can understand each other. But if you concentrate on training one side to go and deal with the other people they don't want to talk to, then there's a problem.
Right.
So changing the attitude and the minds of the people in Haiti, especially the hostility towards Kenya right now, that we are not that bad, we are not that hostile, will require more than the police officers. It's an educational issue, an attitude thing. And maybe the incorporation of people who think differently would help to those people, because they also want to listen to people they can trust. And ordinarily, people wearing uniforms
Cannot be trusted.
cannot be trusted. Even in Kenya, we have a problem with that.
Right. So we need clergy also on that particular panel.
Yes.
Right?
Why not?
We need
Why not?
a multi-sectoral approach
They just go
from
there
the security agencies, from the religious community as well, from civil society,
Even from the legislature.
and from the legislature as well. I think
Farah will be
I'm
willing.
willing to go there.
there's the diplomatic, what we could normally call it, where Yusuf Hassan is, that particular committee. Foreign affairs
defense.
and defense, yes. That particular delegation as well. That committee should be part of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
I want us just to gravitate the discussion a bit to the non-allied
Let me
designation.
just make a final comment on this. I think this should close. All these things we are talking about are wonderful, but they cannot succeed unless and until we appreciate one fact, that Haitians are actually an embodiment of their history. If we don't, I know that in some quarters in this country we have a lot of disdain for history, but if there is a time when we needed it most, is when we have embarked on this mission to Haiti. I will suppose you have mentioned that you know Gabo. Just tell him to read a bit of history and appreciate. If you look at the people who are demonstrating in the streets of Washington and the concepts that they are using, it clearly tells you, slave, traitor, puppet, Haiti is not for sale, That bespeaks of children of protest, children of revolution. And for as long as we are going to Haiti under the armpit of the United States, things are not going to be good for us. Even if we go there with religious people in ropes, for as long as the United States is going to pay the bills, it might not do well with that mission. That is very, very clear. Nobody is against America. By saying this, we are not against America. They are great people. They have done good things around the world. But there are certain instances where things are not going to be able to work under their armpit. And we are sending the police there. You know, under that, it might not be very successful.
All right, you were just talking about having disdain for history. And I'm trying to see, I think I'd come across an article where the president also is saying the university should consider scrapping some of the courses.
Yeah, the president singled out history.
And he singled out history, so historians here.
That's where
Mashara and your department as well.
Yeah.
So that stands in the chance of being on the chopping block, yeah?
That's fine. You can abolish the department, but you not abolish history, because we are all an embodiment of what our history is, including His Excellency, the President himself. If you see the platform on which he campaigned for his elections, he calls himself a chicken seller. I mean, that is a historical reality. He talks about his past so gloriously, and that is what has made him who he is. So that is really neither here nor there. With deepest respect to His Excellency, this is the time I think he needs history more than any other. And I think if we had serious lessons, particularly on the history of revolutions, he could have made a slightly different decision than this one of directly sending the Kenyan police force to Haiti under the armpit of the United States. We need to help Haiti. Those are our people. When you see them demonstrating in the streets of America, they more or less look like people in Kisumu and Kakamega. They could pass for anybody in some street in Kisii town, you know, or Garissa or anywhere. So, and they will be happy.
They don't look that much like Garissa people, but that's okay.
And emotionally so. And emotionally so, if we went there as children of Africa, helping Africans. I talk a lot about global Africa, that an African anywhere in the world is an African. And for them to receive that magnanimity from another African nation, I'm sure they will welcome it with open arms. A black man, a black woman.
Let me plug in something just because you said something about history.
The
disdain for history.
Professor of history.
I've stopped.
The paradox we have,
honest
people
nest.
who hate history in power, yet they want history to say good things about them. That's a paradox, huh? They don't like history and they want history to say good things about them. We have been told before, and we have had numerous commissions of education, from about 1910, 15, 20, 20, okay, and they always come up with the same thing, all of them, that the problem with these Africans is that they are not learning enough technical things. And they are doing philosophy and history and all those things. So abolish history and philosophy and teach them how to be good technicians, and everything will be in order. Nowadays, it's put in the language of what's something called STEM.
Yeah, actually, it's a STEM which is being.
Okay? Forget history, forget the philosophy, forget. Just do this thing. The question that comes up: if that was the reason people don't have jobs, if it was, how come we have so many doctors who are jobless? They didn't study history. How come we have so many engineers who are nowhere? They didn't study history. How come we have so many veterinarians? You know, all those thousands of them.
4,000 or almost 4,000.
They did not
doctors
study
without
history.
jobs.
Maybe the reason they are jobless is because they didn't study history. Because this is a policy issue.
But isn't it surprising that actually the president is meeting the vice chancellors yesterday, straight away from the U.S., and then you're putting that particular issue of the STEM as well, and the technical of it.
Okay
so we should concentrate on the STEM. This is where we lose the soul of a nation, right? Because you concentrate and never gaze on the STEMs,
and people don't
and then
know
we
their
have
own
issues
countries.
of corruption because you're not taught ethics, you're not taught history, you're not taught philosophy, right? We become people,
Critical thinking has been made
we are just bodies
a sin
without
in the country.
Without conscience.
No, critical thinking is medicine. So we tell people not to engage in serious thought about what is going on in the country. So if they do not know, they lost their identity along the way. We have had top guys saying they were not sure about what national interests are, Kenya's national interests are. Yet these are the people making decisions for Kenya. And what's the end result? They end up making wrong decisions, which mess up the economy, which increase poverty instead of reducing poverty.
So we spend a good time also discussing Mowoka.
These are policy issues which require thinking, critical thinking, and it's not there.
Okay, we need to wind up on this. Yes.
The irony is, we are being told about STEAM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But the West, the same global node that is imposing this on us, is talking about STEAM. They're not talking about STEM. Where STEAM in their case means science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. They had an A. But us, they are telling us STEM. Don't you see?
We should steamroll the steam.
Yeah.
Let's steamroll this.
The top universities, they are putting a lot of stress on arts and humanities.
Yes.
Because that's where the matter is.
It's about philosophy.
Yeah.
It's about ethics and philosophy. That's the arts is important. Actually, in the United Kingdom, check who studies history, arts, and philosophy. It's the aristocracy. It's the royal. That's the highest, and it's higher than engineering. It's higher than
Literature, language,
Exactly.
literature, languages, political science, history, music.
It's for the
Theology.
aristocracy.
Those are the intellectual fields.
Correct.
Check what,
Engineers and lawyers are basically tradesmen and women.
For working class.
check what King Charles studied in Cambridge, my alma mater. Just check. And the then Prince Charles, now King Charles.
He's an alumni, you'll tell us.
The
He's an alumni of
They were in
Cambridge.
the same college.
Yeah, they're in the same college with King Charles.
They go for literature and music. Maybe we are training too many and teaching too many historians.
No.
No, but that's not the reason people are jobless.
Yeah.
Check properly. That's not the reason.
Okay. Can we head to South Africa right now? Now that you've not,
It's a good place to go.
You've not elected to talk about the non-ally designation and what are some of the benefits. I think we'll be remiss if we don't really, or we can pick up on it next week so that we can focus on South Africa. I know also that Mustafa is strapped for time a bit. But South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, who has staked his reputation on cleaning up the image of the ruling African National Congress, will lead the party towards its biggest test of the democratic era when South Africa vote on, of course, the elections today. Ramaphosa, who helped found the country's biggest mining union, and later became one of its wealthiest businessmen, took on the presidency in 2018 and survived a misconduct scandal to be re-elected to the ANC's helm in 2022. He has struggled to lift economic growth, make a dent in high unemployment with a third of South Africa's jobless, or end crippling power cuts, all of which voters are expected to punish the ANC for at the ballot box today. If the party loses its majority for the first time in 30 years, as opinion polls predict, some political analysts say 71-year-old Ramaphosa will be unlikely to see out a second term. Ramaphosa was the ANC's lead negotiator during talks that led to a peaceful end to apartheid, which enabled Nelson Mandela to become South Africa's first black president after 1994's historic all-race vote. He also played an important role in the drafting of South Africa's progressive constitution. Despite his evident gift, Ramaphosa gave up politics in 1996 and entered business. As Mandela's newly elected ANC sought to dilute the dominance of the white minority in the boardrooms of the new South Africa, some say he was pushed by Mandela's protege and eventual successor, former President Thabo Mbeki. Ramaphosa withdrew from politics under Mbeki and set up an investment vehicle called Shanduka, which means change. in the language of his vendor people. Shanduka grew into one of the biggest black-owned investment vehicles in South Africa. Ramaphosa was one of the main beneficiaries of the ANC's policies of black economic empowerment, which was meant to reduce inequality, but which critics say led to people with ANC connections acquiring assets at knockdown prices. So the elections is on today. We want also to see who will be vying, and this could bring momentous change, with polls suggesting the ruling ANC is likely to lose its majority after 30 years in power. Take a listen.
South Africa's election on May 29 could bring momentous change. Polls suggest that the ruling African National Congress is likely to lose its majority after 30 years at the helm. So who are the parties vying for power in South Africa's 2024 election? The ANC enjoys rock-solid loyalty from many black South Africans, especially older voters. Its heroic past as a liberation movement helped end the apartheid, and it has won a majority in national elections since 1994. However, in recent years, its support has dwindled. If the polls are correct, the ANC is on course to lose its majority for the first time since it came to power, raising the possibility of coalition talks. The Democratic Alliance won the second largest share of vote in the last election and has formed an alliance with several smaller parties. It proposes to scrap the ANC's flagship Black Empowerment Scheme in favor of policies focused on reducing poverty regardless of skin color. The party's leader has rejected criticism that the DA represents white privilege, saying it wants to practice good governance for the benefit of all South Africans. Formed in 2013 by Julius Malema, a former leader of the ANC's youth wing, the EFF draws its support predominantly from voters who are young, poor and black. The party presents itself as Marxist and advocates for the nationalization of industries and land redistribution to address racial injustice. It is seen as a potential coalition partner for the ANC due to Malema's historic ties with the ruling party. The MK party is a recent entrant, having been registered in September 2023. It received a major boost when former President Jacob Zuma announced he was backing it in December. Polls suggest it has been eating into the EFF's support base and that it could attract significant votes on May 29. The socially conservative IFP draws its support from KwaZulu-Natal province. Its policies include giving more power to traditional rulers and launching a national debate on reinstating the death penalty. It has a fraught history with the ANC, with which it was in violent conflict during the final years of apartheid. Founded in 2020, Action SA is popular in the country's richest province of Gauteng, where the commercial capital Johannesburg is located. Its leader, Herman Mashaba, was once the city's mayor, though he was part of the DA at the time. The party says it favors minimal government interference in the economy.
DA is formed packed with some of smaller parties as well. It seems that now is a chance for coalitions and is going to upset the apple cart in South Africa. We want just to also have a slice and dice on this with our panelists, just briefly, happening today in South Africa. Professor Mashari, let's just begin with you.
It's good they are having a good election. And the turnout, I hope it's high. Know the people being watched, 3 of them are the center of attraction. Ramaphosa, because he's the president. Malema, because he's rowdy, and how much progress he makes. I know he has friends in Kenya. And there's the former president, Zuma. Because he's chaotic. Now Zuma is kind of the Trump of South Africa. and with fire and all things, excites people. And the judgment may be something else, but he's somebody to watch. And both Malema and Zuma, who used to be friends before they quarreled, are eroding the ANC. Serious erosion. So the ANC becomes a shadow of what it used to be. Still very strong, yes, but a shadow. So the likely outcome, those three will be factors. And we don't know which way it will go out. Now, the concern that I had the Minister of Foreign Affairs expressing South Africa, because South Africa stood very firm at the international stage, especially on the Gaza, they did it. And the concern she had was that should ANC lose, or somebody else come into office, maybe the South African position internationally might be eroded. They might forget their mission in the international order. That's the main concern, one of them. And I think she was very clear, and it's also something to be concerned with. Although I don't think ANC will lose so badly that they will not be in the government. They'll still be there. Yeah.
All right. Farah Maalim.
ANC, you think will lose?
No, they will not do as well as they did before.
So you don't think the MPC is the biggest contender? Because we see now there's new development, and this has been happening in this country as well, that if you go really as a maverick, a single party, you don't really stand a chance of winning any elections. But if you have a coalition of parties, as we've had, now we have UDA trying to make a super majority party, as it were, then that will make a very formidable, force when it comes to 2027 elections. So MPC, and going by the polls, by the way, you don't think might really...
Well, I think they'll make a dent.
They'll make a dent, but not a significant dent.
But I think ANC will still have
more
not as big as it used to be.
Right. Have you been consulting for ANC or you done in South
No,
Africa?
they forgot to ask me.
Farah Maalim, what is your take?
I think ANC will still do well, but they will be seriously dented. Seriously dented. So much so that they will be almost settled on the fact that if they don't change ways and begin attending to some of the progressive black voices there who really want to see not a serious reversal of roles, but a progressive process in which the black man is getting empowered. The economy is still largely white. The land issue is still there. It's in a big way. Trade unions and all that. Ramaphosa became a businessman. He was in Kosatu. That became literally Tokyo Sexuale and Ramaphosa immediately got independence. They went out there to make money and joined the... They made big money. They made big money and joined the bourgeoisie, what ordinarily in a socialist language you will call it bourgeoisie. The bloodsuckers.
Bourgeoisies are bloodsuckers.
Yeah, people who suck.
They're vampires.
They're vampires. We have far too many of them in our own country. Because after independence, we had to transplant a black, what you call upper class nobility, to be able to replace to take over place of the whites. Yeah? It was not going to be emancipation as such. It was a transplantation, basically. We still maintain we still maintain the hierarchy. The only thing is that you have more black faces basically appearing in those up there. That's why you had Charles Jonjo with his signature three-piece and the clock pinstriped and the what do you call that clock? The clock that you put in there, and of course, and not the rose, the clock, the clock. The one you put in the small pocket in here.
A pocket watch.
Yeah, I've never had that small pocket myself. Yeah, so usually three.
The one you can flip it.
Yeah, you flip it like this and see it and put it back. And the dog, a special breed of a dog, not a very big one like a Doberman or German Shepherd or Labrador. No, it's a small exotic one that you.
With the Queen's English.
Of course, yes. So the only thing is we overdid it because none of those white settlers, except Delamere, had 1 million acres. You know what I mean? But the ones who replaced them.
1 million acres?
Oh, yes.
Delamere.
None of them had this kind of a size of, except Delamere had what, about 200,000?
No, he had more than that.
From
At least-
Naivasha to almost Nakuru.
Yeah. About, I think, 500,000.
Pharaoh was speaking
Over.
figuratively.
I'm saying,
Okay.
other than Delamere, none of them had the kind of land that the first family has now. You know what I mean? You get my point?
They have been replaced by the hustler grandees.
Yes, we overdid it.
It's not conformable yet. It's yet to be confirmed.
Without the passion of production, you know what I mean? We went in for that serious consumption, passion of consumption, borrowed it from the white man. Without the
production.
The redeeming, what do you call it? You know, the redeeming values of production. The white man enjoys their life very well, but they're also very hardworking. You know what I mean? I mean, they built all that empire through hard works, and including, of course, taking slaves, because taking slaves also is not an easy thing. It's very hard work. You know what I mean? And colonizing us, it's not easy. So without the redeeming values, we just took, you know, the gluttonous, you know, primitive accumulation, but overdid it. So in South Africa, Ramaphosa, he has serious issues. And, but I think he's still coming back. He's still coming back because NC is still largely, although the Zulu factor, by the way, Zulus are very, very territorial and very ethnic. And they are the biggest, right? Are they the biggest right now? Ethnic group in
Yes, it is.
They're the biggest ethnic group in there. Xhosa, the Xhosa, between them and the Xhosa, who is more than the other?
Zulu is more.
Zulu is more, yes.
KwaZulu Natal province.
Yes.
Durban area.
Yes. And all that other place of what you call it. So basically, it's going to be an interesting thing. Very, very interesting thing. But there are certain things that South Africa has perfected. The struggle for independence took in a lot of the values of the fighters. You've seen this lady who is the Minister for Foreign Affairs, and you watch her talk, and
Excellent.
and you see what comes from her heart.
That's why she's worried.
It comes from her heart and her conviction. You know what I mean? It's her conviction. But then, of course, the Jews are still some of the richest people in South Africa, if not the richest people in South Africa.
Using the place there.
Yes, so they are hell-bent on making sure that ANC is dented as much as it can. So they're pouring in money, you know, pumping in money. But a little bit of a problem also because a choice between ANC coming back with the lady, what's her name? What's her name? And the policies of ANC right now, which are fairly progressive. And Malema.
Malema would close all embassies in Africa for Israel.
So it's kind of a tricky choice. So no wonder they're going for Zuma.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean?
Who was out
But Zuma has also, it's been a checkered journey to where he is right
Yeah,
now. to
of
be
course.
opposed.
rather serious.
Yeah.
No. This is not to the extent of this. To the extent of the global Caucasian, you know, Zionist or no Zionist or whatever, super breed, you know, racist,
Right.
white, you know.
Balaldi.
It's
Right.
That of Zuma is not so bad. What's the problem? Zuma having a few women, Gulf wives. That's not a big deal. I mean, they had it also in the white. What did you call it here? The valley.
The Happy Valley.
The Happy Valley also in Naivasha with the Lord Errols and the rest of them. And we ended up actually naming a very good restaurant, the Lord Errol, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, which means you can come and enjoy the good Happy Valley because they used to do all sorts of things, yeah?
All right. Let's hear from Dr. Mustafa.
Just before the problem with South Africa, and this is what is really troubling Ramaphosa, I guess, is, well, South Africa, ANC, and this is a problem within ANC. ANC liberated South Africa from political apartheid, but it failed to liberate South Africa from economic apartheid. And this is why people like Malema are coming up and are becoming very popular, because they speak to the economic apartheid that is still very much alive in South Africa. When in 1994 South Africa gained independence, you know, the whites told the blacks, you can keep the parliament, we keep the banks. And that is what has been going on until today. A total, complete emancipation means political emancipation, economic emancipation, and this is what South Africa needs to be moving forward to. So those political parties that are in South Africa, yes, ANC is going to be dented quite a bit, and we hope that they learn from this particular election so that they can focus on emancipating the black South African economically.
Fantastic. Right. Dr. Mustafa, we're just about to leave. Don't be in a tearing rush.
From what Mustafa said, just more or less the same thing. I like the way Professor Mazrui put it when South Africa was celebrating 10 years of post-1994. Some of them not call it independence. He said, Africans have the flag, the whites remained with the gold. And that is the problem ANC is confronting that gave birth to the militants, Malema, Zuma, and the rest. And even if ANC wins, really, victory or no victory, I think it will probably, if I may put it loosely, win the war but lose the battle.
Right. Professor Mashaya Munene.
Yeah, the ANC, I think we've said, they are likely to win. It's going to. It's like the CCM in Tanzania. It keeps on losing a bit, but still there. It's still there. So it's they are likely to win. But we need to watch out those others and the potential that they have. You had asked earlier, we comment on about the Kenya being in NATO without being in NATO.
Yeah, I think that is a bigger discussion that we need to dedicate.
The ally in NATO, but not in NATO, which simply means that it's a friend of NATO. Yeah? And Kenya to be classified in that, it might mean that we have agreed to some things. Maybe the Americans will establish a base here.
If they have not already established
it's in the work. So the Manda Bay, they're expanding the airport there. I hope they build a bridge from Manda to India. And then
they'll send a few prisoners
those kind of things. So, but it's something that as a country it needs to discuss. And not just leave it in the air.
Yeah. We need to dedicate next week for that particular discussion. So that we give it at least some justice as well. Could I just, I'll be remiss if we don't really talk about University of Nairobi here. That is in the Rangos right now. That, Dr. Mustafa has to go. Yes. Yeah, but we're just feeling, we're remaining only 4 minutes to wind up. I know he's in a tearing rush. Can you tell us about the conference that you're attending?
No, we are organizing a conference. We are going to speak about Sudan, look at the issues. Sudan is in a terrible state today. And part of the problem is because everybody is there and has complicated the conflict. There are many spoilers to that particular conflict in Sudan. And what the Horn International Institute for Strategic Studies is doing is to put a spotlight on the dynamics of the conflict as it is today, with a view of suggesting and recommending solutions and coming up with a policy brief that can be useful and helpful to the Africa Union, to IGAD, as entities that should take the lead in helping Sudan come back to its feet. That's what we are doing today.
All right, and just to also prime us on South Sudan as well, is that we had U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken discussing the need to urgently end the war in Sudan with the Sudanese Army Chief General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan in a phone call. On Tuesday, that is yesterday, according to State Department, and we had also the two also addressed ways to enable unhindered humanitarian access, including cross-border and cross-line, to alleviate the suffering of the Sudanese people. It is said Sudan has been gripped since April 2023 by a civil war between the Sudanese army led by Burhan and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, led by Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo. Thousands of civilians are estimated to have died. Blinken discussed a resumption of peace negotiations with Burhan and the need to protect civilians and defuse hostilities in Al-Fashir, North Darfur. The State Department also mentioned that. Dr. Mustafa, I think we shall be discussing this much.
Every time you hear Blinken talk to Burhan and tell him that let's discuss about peace, Burhan is winning. Because if Dagalo was winning, then Blinken would not worry about that. Dagalo, Hemeti Dagalo is their man.
Is their man?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
But because the 52, almost 55 million Sudanese have risen up to this and have decided, no, we're going to fight this out until we reclaim our country from Digalo, Haiti Digalo. And Burhan has got a lot of goodwill, a lot of massive popular goodwill. Now then you can see how the West starts talking. Yeah, humanitarian nonsense. There's no humanitarian there.
There's no humanitarian?
No.
All right, I think we're having wrong cover shots there of South Sudan, not Sudan there. Right,
what about 15 people? You think they care about 15,000 sub-Saharan African in Sudan? Because most of them, by the way, are just essentially, they're not Arabs. We call them Arabs, they're not Arabs. Dying when they can see they can see Palestinians, 45,000 of them killed, 10,000 of them still under the rubble, dead bodies, and they don't care about it. It doesn't flinch even one moment. And then they think now there's a humanitarian crisis, we must come in. No. Typical Western American hypocrisy, which essentially is neither here nor there.
All right.
Call the bluff.
Okay, it's, Dr. Mustafa, thank you. But we only three minutes to go, so can we wind up together? Yes, I will be remiss if you don't really talk about University of Nairobi and what is happening currently. What is the warfare there?
You see, Dibal, it puts me in a very interesting situation. I come from the university. Two things. One is the bigger picture, really, in the University of Nairobi is that many things are going on normally. We have had our lectures. The students are preparing for exams. Some faculties have already started their exams. The normal business of the university is running. Mustafa is running for a seminar that's beginning in the university Chandaria Hall at 9. Tomorrow I'm having my usual seminar. We are hosting somebody from Canada talking about tales from Nairobi and tales from Russia. So the business of the university is running. The problem that we have is what seems to me to be a clash of interests and personalities between the VC, Professor Kiama, and the chairman of council. And Professor Nangwe, I think you were in parliament. You were in parliament with him. He's a professor now.
Oh, he's a professor, yes, he's a professor, yeah.
Yeah, he's a political science. He actually taught me in undergraduate political economy. The challenge we have is one seems to be coming from purely a political perspective of things, and the other one comes from a totally different perspective, and their personalities have actually clashed. But the main challenge of the University of Nairobi is actually capitation from the central government. The university needs finances, needs support to run its programs, to rehabilitate its infrastructure, the labs, the classes, the student hostels. Those are the main issues that we have as a university. Individuals will clash over the direction the university takes, but I think the bigger interest is the university be supported fully so that it can continue to do and play its role in society.
All right, let's see, lastly, the publications that are there internationally. As you can see there, if my director will just pick it out in full, the week is focusing on a partisan display. Have Justices Alito and Thomas put politics above impartiality. It's all about American politics. This is the week, the US. And the week, UK, death of a hardliner. Will anything change in Iran? That's a probing question after the death of the president there. You can read all about it in the latest publication. And the Time magazine, as always, this is If He Wins. That is the current publication. It should be coming up momentarily on your screens as well. There you are. And the Newsweek as well. How the Gaza war could cost Biden election. It's a protest vote. Could it be a protest vote as well? That is what the Newsweek is focusing on this week. China parades influence in NYC. And The Economist, cash for kids, right? In this country, maybe we'll come to a time when now government will actually be doling out money for you to have kids as well. Why policies to boost birth rates don't work. This is also the latest in The Economist. Where next for Iran? Meet VDA's challenges, how to save South Africa, Britain's election surprise, all that as well in the publication. I just want to give a sporting chance to Farah Maalim to give you closing remarks briefly. Farah.
Yeah, my closing remarks is that one of the serious, groundbreaking, explosive undertaking that was given by this government at the time after the elections was that there would be no more what you call enforced disappearances of Kenyans. That would be a thing of the past. All Kenyans, if there's sufficient evidence to show that the Kenyan is guilty of something.
Make it very PC.
Yes. They would bring him, of course, take him, investigate him. The courts are very generous in giving as much time as you want. If the prosecutor asks for 2 weeks, they give 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5, any amount of time they'll give them. And then, of course, some of these offenses are not bailable. So you can continue the investigations. But right now, we have in excess of around 15 people who have disappeared, no trace, nobody knows where they are. Nobody knows where they are, and we have a problem. And I think it's time the president took this very seriously and brought back the young boys who have been enforced into disappearance. The other thing is that we had Operation Linda Inchi, so that we could protect our country from Al-Shabaab. Going where they are, finish the job in there so they can come to us. They have come to us right now. They're everywhere. 60% of Northeastern province right now, you cannot move. Al-Shabaab is there. So we need to come up with serious plans on how to end that menace. If it means by getting out of Somalia and coming back into our country and protecting our own country,
thank you.
We might as well do that. But then something has got to be done.
Thank you. Right, Professor Mashara, your closing remarks?
Yeah, thank you. Since the country is going to Haiti anyway, maybe we should rethink how we go to Haiti. The suggestions that were made here are good suggestions. Let's invite everybody here, starting with Barbecue and his colleagues. Give them a nice treat in Nairobi, in Kenya, and let them talk. They might surprise us by saying yes. So, but make the effort that you're not just going there with the rungus and guns, but it's an approach that is humane and understandable.
Thank you.
It might work.
Dr. Ken.
Mine is where I left about the University of Nairobi, my employer. And what I'm saying are actually my personal views, don't represent the department that I work for, nor the University of Nairobi, but I'll urge those concerned to keep politics and its attendant theatrics out of the university, and also keep ethnicity out of the running of the affairs of the University of Nairobi. I urge the government to fund the university properly so that it can continue to be the center of academic excellence that it was meant to be.
Right, thank you. Dr. Ken Mbogi, thank you. Professor Mashara Munene, thank you. Farah Maalim, also thank you very much for very interactive conversation on a raft of issues as well. And I want to thank also Dr. Mustafa Ali, but also I have some very heart-wrenching and of course depressing news this morning, because the media fraternity in the country is in mourning following the death of Shadrach Miti. If you can just run the auto cue for me as well to just give a particular story, please. Right, the media fraternity in the country is in mourning following the death of Shadrach Miti, a senior news reporter at KTN News and Standard Group. Miti died while receiving treatment at the Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital, with the preliminary reports indicating that he succumbed to heart-related complications. Miti's career in journalism was marked by his notable tenure at Nation Media Group, where he served as a reporter for QTV from September 17, 2012 to June 30, 2016. His transition to KTN further solidified his reputation as a dedicated and skilled journalist. May his soul rest in peace. Was a colleague. We worked together at NMG, and of course we met here at KTN News as well as Standard Group. And we are saddened by his sudden demise. We want just to say that we stand with the family, our deepest sympathy and sincere condolences. News Diary will give you more details of that as well.